Okay, Broncos country, looks like we are live, but you guys know the drill by now. We've got to let the stream breathe for just a second here and make sure that everything is nice and stable all across the YouTube platform. Welcome in, Broncos country, to this Denver Broncos Syndicate post-game show as your Denver Broncos defeat the Las Vegas Raiders 24-17. It really was more like 24-7, but the Raiders, they ended up scoring 10 points in garbage time, as we see the Chiefs take the field here for Sunday Night Football against the Houston Texans. 10 garbage time points. The Broncos, basically from the second quarter on, were playing sound, complementary football. The defense was lights out outside of basically the first drive. They were able to get pressure on Geno Smith, got him on the ground multiple times, and eventually Geno got knocked out of the game with a shoulder injury, also had a hand injury that he was dealing with in the game. So Kenny Pickett came in to finish the game out, again, basically in garbage time. The game just was not close. The Raiders, they made a very questionable decision at the end of the game to kick a field goal, and time expired as they kicked that field goal to be down by 3 points. So I have no idea what the strategy was there for the Raiders, but it did not work out in their favor. And Las Vegas, they're now sitting at 2-11. This game was huge for the Denver Broncos and their number one seed hopes, because they now hold all the tiebreakers over the New England Patriots. Hold on one second. Sorry, guys. My grandmother's dog is barking like mad. Sorry about that. I think it's just a friend of ours. Sorry about that, guys. My grandmother's dog was absolutely going haywire there. So let's get back on track here as the Denver Broncos, again, it started off a little bit rough for them, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, Geno Smith and company marched downfield. They capped it off with a touchdown, and it looked like, oh, here we go. Some of the defensive issues from last week are still lingering, but they were able to get back on track in this game, and the defense, they ended up finally getting a couple of sacks on Geno Smith. The Raiders were pinned back deep in their own territory. They punted it away to Marvin Mims, and Mims was able to return it all the way for a touchdown. And that was the play that, at least in my opinion, broke the game open for the Denver Broncos. And it felt like after that point, the game was in complete control of the Denver Broncos, and they were able to come away with that win. Obviously, a very good win. And now they own all the tiebreakers over the New England Patriots. They own the head-to-head, well, not a head-to-head tiebreaker, but they own the common opponents tiebreaker. They own division record tiebreakers. They own all kinds of tiebreakers right now over the Patriots. So if the Broncos and Patriots finish with the same record on the season, then we're going to see the AFC playoffs run through the Mile High City. Are we vibing like a Broncos touchdown celebration? I know I sure am, man. That was an awesome victory, and it was finally one where the heart attack horses didn't make an appearance. This game never felt close. Yes, the Raiders scored some garbage time points, but this was the most comfortable victory for the Denver Broncos all season long, in my opinion. Just like JG says, it was a smooth win. It was. Again, started off a little bit bumpy, but the way it finished for the final 3 quarters of that game, and offensively, they were fantastic for all 4 quarters. There are really no complaints that I have about the offense. Maybe a few nitpicky things here and there. You know, Troy Franklin had a couple of frustrating drops. Then he had that play where he bobbled the ball and then was tackled short of the line to gain on 4th down and 3. That was a little bit frustrating, but outside of those, again, very nitpicky plays, our offense played some really good football, and Bo Nix was sensational in this game. He got the ball out on time, in rhythm, in structure. He was decisive getting the ball out. I loved what I saw from Bo Nix. I know there are going to be some naysayers out there that are going to be like, oh, he was just checking the ball down all day. He didn't really do anything. He was distributing the ball to his playmakers. Again, we saw him calm, cool, and collected, even in the face of Raider pressure. Bo Nix played maybe not his best game, but I'd say his most complete game of the season, if that makes any sense. The Packers are going to be a great test at home for the Broncos. Yes, they sure are. Green Bay, they just got a win at home against the Chicago Bears, a win that they desperately needed to keep their hopes of being the number 1 seed in the NFC alive. So Green Bay coming into Denver, they're looking to continue that momentum. Jordan Love's been playing some excellent football recently. They can run the football a lot better than the Raiders. They've got the offensive line to do it. And Josh Jacobs, he's been awesome at running back this season. So I am definitely concerned about this Packers matchup. But if the Denver Broncos go out there and play like they did today, they should be able to take care of business. But so I always like to say, 24-hour rule. Let's go ahead and enjoy this victory before we start looking forward to the next game. Let's see here. Maverick says, final score says otherwise, but this was a domination. It was. It really was. I mean, the Raiders, they covered the spread backdoor on that field goal. I still have no clue what the thought process was kicking that field goal, knowing that time was probably going to expire. And yeah, man, the Raiders are just an unmitigated disaster right now. And Denver went out there and did exactly what you're supposed to do to an unmitigated disaster of a football team. They dominated them. It wasn't stressful. No, it wasn't. And I know that that's good for everybody's heart rate collectively here in the Mile High City. Maverick says, oh, crap, Josh Jacobs. Yeah, that's definitely going to be a tough challenge for this run defense. Hopefully we can get DJ Jones back next week. That'll definitely help for sure. In this game, there were some moments where the Raiders were running the football well, especially on their opening drive, which was easily their most successful drive of the day. Ashton Genty was running the ball. The offensive line was opening up holes for him. But at the end of the day, it started to slow down, and Ashton Genty finished with just 3 yards per carry, 10 carries for 30 yards. So ultimately, he didn't do a whole lot out there. The Raiders kind of abandoned the run like they did in the last game. They had a strong opening drive in the Week 10 game as well, where they kind of ran the ball down Denver's throat, and then they abandoned the run game. It felt like the same thing happened in this game, but Denver's defense also tightened up. They played basically how I expected them to. They kept the Raiders out of the end zone when it mattered for all but one drive. Then they gave them a couple of those garbage time scores. But the Broncos defense, they were getting pressure on Geno Smith and then Kenny Pickett there at the end. They shut down the run game. They did exactly what they needed to do. They followed the game plan to a T. They executed super duper well. Was this Savion Jones' season debut? Yes, it was. I did see him out there for a few plays, but he didn't really make a whole lot of impact plays out there. We'll watch the tape and see how he did. I'm very interested to see how Savion Jones did because he's your potential replacement for John Franklin Myers. So if JFM walks, they were hoping that Savion Jones could step in to be a starter for him. We'll see if he's going to be able to do that or not. Today was no doubt good experience for him. Regardless if the tape is good or bad, we will find out what the tape looks like over the course of the next couple of days. But another thing that I was really impressed with was RJ Harvey. I was concerned about the Broncos' rushing attack against this Raiders run defense. On the year, the Raiders had the third best rush defense entering this game in terms of EPA per rush. So I was a little bit worried that maybe RJ Harvey would have some issues running the football. We've had those issues with vision and him wanting to bounce everything to the outside. The most positive thing that I would take away from this victory for the Denver Broncos is that RJ Harvey was able to have multiple nice runs down the middle of the field. His vision looked good for the most part. There were a couple of plays where I thought he prematurely bounced it, but outside of those, RJ Harvey looked really, really good. And even Jaleel McLaughlin in spurts looked solid. So if Denver can keep this up and have some resemblance of a decent rushing attack until we get to the playoffs, that's huge. Because once we get to the playoffs, we should get J.K. Dobbins back. I've talked about this so many times. In order to win in the playoffs, you've got to find a way to run the football and run the football consistently. So if the Denver Broncos want to keep this up, they're going to have to keep riding the hot hand at running back with RJ Harvey. But the offensive line is going to have to continue to play at the same level they've been playing, which I'm confident they will. The offensive line has been really good all season long. And even some players who I thought have struggled in the run game this season, Luke Wattenberg, Mike McGlinchey, they were opening up some big-time holes in the run game. So I'm really, really happy with this run game overall. And the way that the Denver Broncos won this game in truly dominating fashion, where it felt like they were bleeding the clock down basically the entire second half, and they had the Raiders at their own mercy. This Denver Broncos team can win a lot of games like that. And again, like I said, that is the formula for winning games in the playoffs. I also thought Pat Surtain did a really good job locking down Brock Bowers in this game. A lot of the plays where Bowers was giving the ball, those were the plays that Pat Surtain wasn't on him. Surtain did have a questionable pass interference call in this one. I thought that was just really, really ticky-tack, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I thought he played well. Jahdae Barron overall played well. Riley Moss, same thing. I thought our secondary looked good. Talanoa Hufanga didn't stand out like he has in previous games, but I thought he did pretty well overall as well. You got Devin saying Adam Prentice has been a very underrated player. I agree. We saw Prentice with that massive carry. They handed it to him on, I want to say it was a 3rd down and 1. He gets the first down and a lot more. He's lucky, or I guess the Raiders are lucky that Isaiah Polamau, their safety, tracked him down, because it looked like it was going to be a walk-in touchdown there for Adam Prentice. He's looked really good as a blocker at the fullback position. They've even utilized him at the tight end position a little bit. So Adam Prentice is a guy that I would imagine would get a game ball for this one. It's just nice to see the Denver Broncos play complementary football. We talked about this so many times in our live stream that if you're going to want to win games in the playoffs, you've got to play well in all 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. The last time we played against the Raiders in Week 10, I'd argue there was only one side of the football that was pulling their weight, and that was the defensive side. That's why we were able to win that game. In this game, it started off where the defense was having some issues. They weren't exactly pulling their weight, but the offense and the special teams were able to make up for those deficiencies early on. They had the big punt return touchdown. Offense marched downfield and had a really nice opening drive. Over 8 minutes, they scored a touchdown. It was really good to see that. And then finally, when the defense got their stuff together, we saw all 3 phases of this team play well for, I'd say, the first time this season. Maybe the Cowboys game, but I thought there were still moments where both sides struggled in that Cowboys game. This game, it felt like we saw cohesiveness. We saw a team that gelled. We saw a team that was moving as one as opposed to moving as 3 separate units. Bronco fan says Josh has killed us over the years. We must stop him at all costs. I think Denver is going to look to sell out to stop the run in this game. I just looked. The weather's actually going to be pretty favorable. So I do feel like it's not going to be one of those games where you have to just run the football and you can't really pass the ball. It's going to be 50 degrees, not much wind out there. But still, the Packers are a run-first football team with Josh Jacobs. Denver is going to have to find a way to stop that. But like I said, man, 24-hour rule, I just want to enjoy this victory because this was a good win, a division win on the road. You always worry about these division games. They can get a little bit screwy sometimes. You know, division opponents, nobody knows you better than your divisional opponents. So sometimes you play down to your competition. And the Broncos have been a team that has had a problem with playing down to their competition basically all season long. So to see them not do that in this game was really, really good. Last week was a really frustrating game against the Washington Commanders where it did feel like Denver was playing down to their competition. Washington's not a good team. They got shut out today by the Minnesota Vikings, and Denver, they really struggled against that team. I mean, they were a batted two-point conversion away from losing that game. So to see Denver go out there and take care of business and truly stomp on an opponent who's down bad in the Raiders, that's what you want. Next week against Green Bay, hopefully we see this same version of the Broncos, and hopefully we see them continue to look this good. Devin asks, who do you have in the Chiefs game? I'm hoping the Texans win, but it's kind of hard to pick against the Chiefs at home, especially with them being so down right now. I don't know if the NFL is going to let their golden boys slip down so far and potentially be out of playoff contention. So I do feel like the Chiefs are going to find some way to win. The refs are probably going to find some way to help them out. But if the Texans play like I know they're capable of playing, they should win this game. They've got the pass rush, and pass rush travels well, even in these loud environments. And they've also got a really good offense right now. CJ Stroud's playing some good football. If the Texans play up to their potential, they should get this win. The Chiefs are highly motivated, and it's going to be tough to pick against them, especially at Arrowhead. But if there's one team that the Chiefs probably don't want to see, it's this one. I have Houston winning because I hate the Chiefs. Fair enough. I like to look at things from more of an analytical point of view, but I can totally understand just the pure old-fashioned AFC West hatred, and that definitely has a factor in my decision-making as well. That Texans defense is deadly. They are. They really are. They can rush the passer. They've got a good secondary. They've got linebackers who fly all over the field. Looks like Patrick Mahomes is breaking them down right now. There's Will Anderson, one of those dangerous pass rushers for the Houston Texans. Shut up, fuck Broncos. Okay, sure, bye-bye. Most likely a bot, I would imagine. So, yeah, guys, really, really tough game tonight. Devin asks, any thoughts on the Ravens right now? The Baltimore Ravens, they've been kind of on a skid. They lost to the Bengals. They just lost to the Steelers. Lamar Jackson hasn't looked himself since he came back from his injury, so I don't think he's 100% healthy. Their defense has been suspect basically all year long. I didn't see the game today, so I don't know what happened there, but if it looks like how it's been looking like for them all season long, yeah, this Ravens team maybe isn't as good as we thought going into the season. They've had some injuries, like losing Nnamdi Madubuike on the defensive line was a devastating injury for them. Lamar hasn't been healthy all season long. Derrick Henry doesn't look like he's 100% healthy either. So, yeah, it's just been a rough go for the Ravens right now, and they're in serious danger of not going to the playoffs. We also had another big-time development in the AFC in Indianapolis as Daniel Jones went down today with a non-contact injury that appears to be a torn Achilles. That would knock him out for the rest of the season, and Indianapolis, after losing today to Jacksonville, they are in danger of missing the playoffs altogether after starting 7-1. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were concerned about the Indianapolis Colts being the team to beat in the AFC. We were worried that was the team we were going to have to deal with. And remember, Indy's got a head-to-head tiebreaker over Denver, but all of that might be moot now. It's looking like Daniel Jones is going to miss the rest of the season, and Indianapolis has a really tough schedule moving forward. They've got teams like the Seahawks and the 49ers, so they are in big-time trouble. Now, the team that we might have to be looking out for outside of the Patriots is the Jacksonville Jaguars, who we play here in Denver in 2 weeks. Minister says, Gage, whatever happened with the Raiders player that they carted off, I have no clue what the actual injury was. We haven't heard an update yet. Certainly didn't look good. I hope that he's okay long term, but I would not anticipate it to be anything but bad news just based on how it looked. The way he went down, he was holding his knee. They had the air cast on his knee. So, yeah, it just didn't look good for Caillou Blue Kelly there. Hopefully he's all right long term, though. So, again, Broncos country, complimentary football. We saw it finally in this game. And if the Broncos can just carry that momentum, especially into this Packers game, then I feel like they can beat almost anybody in the NFL. We're just waiting here for this Chiefs game to officially get started. We're going to go ahead and wind down this stream, though, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and make some videos here throughout the evening, so stay tuned for all of those. Pat says, you think the Chargers upset the Broncos in a few weeks? I'm hoping that game doesn't matter for the Broncos. I'm hoping by that point, Denver already has the #1 seed locked up and they can rest their starters in that game. So those are my hopes there. Hopefully that game just doesn't really matter for the Broncos. All right, guys, be sure to smash that like button as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. I would really appreciate it. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support. It helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and it helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. Additionally, if you want to go above and beyond in supporting this channel, please be sure to consider becoming a channel member. The link is in the description below. Here's that Daniel Jones injury. Oh, just brutal, man. Link is in the description below if you want some extra perks and incentives in exchange for helping me out and helping the channel grow. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.